Tyler Perry didn't fail in front of critics, he failed in front of empty seats. That's worse. Why? Because critics means someone cared enough to watch. Silence means the world didn't even notice you tried. Opening night came. The theater lights were on, stage was ready, and almost no one showed up. The moment doesn't just test belief, it tests whether your dreams deserve oxygen. Most dreams suffocate right there. People imagine failure as chaos. Tyler's failure was quiet. No headlines, no backlash, no warning, just an empty room and a bill he couldn't afford to pay. That kind of failure doesn't make you angry, it makes you question your sanity. Because when no one shows up, you don't feel rejected, you feel irrelevant. And irrelevance kills more creators than rejection ever will. Tyler Perry didn't come from safety. He came from abuse, instability, a home where survival mattered more than dreams. Writing wasn't a hobby, it was a coping mechanism. Words were the only place where pain made sense. So when his first place failed, this wasn't just business disappointment. It felt like one thing keeping him afloat was slipping out from under him. If you've ever poured yourself into something and felt unseen, stay here. This is the Golden Lining, and I'm Kush Nathu, and I tell stories about moments where most people walk away. Tyler Perry didn't walk away, and that decision changed everything. The first play failed, then the second, then the third. Same results, different nights. Each time Tyler rewrote, rented in a theater, spent more money. Each time fewer people came. Failure wasn't teaching him anymore. It was testing his identity. Because when failure repeats long enough, it stops feeling temporary and starts feeling like truth. That's where most people quit. Not because they're weak, but because persistence starts to look like delusion. Eventually, the savings disappeared. Then the fallback options. Then the safety net. Tyler Perry slept in his car, not as motivational story, as a logistical reality. Cold nights, uncertainty, no applause waiting on the other side. This is the moment people romanticize. It shouldn't be romantic. This is where belief either hardens or collapses completely. Here's the question Tyler had to answer, and it's the same one every creator eventually faces. Am I committed, or am I just afraid to admit this isn't working? That question doesn't have a motivational answer, it has an honest one. And honesty is painful because quitting would have been logical, responsible, defensible. Continuing meant carrying the weight alone. Here's where Tyler Perry separates himself. He didn't quit, but he also didn't stay stubborn. He stopped chasing validation. He started studying reaction. Who laughed? Who stayed? Who returned? He realized something most creators miss. Critics don't build careers, audiences do. So he rewrote not to impress elites, but to connect with the people who actually showed up. That shift is subtle and is everything. This is where most stories skip ahead, but this is the real beginning. Tyler wasn't successful yet. He wasn't respected yet. He wasn't stable yet. But he had clarity, and clarity is more dangerous than talent because clarity doesn't need approval to keep moving. Clarity didn't make Tyler Perry famous, it made him dangerous. Because once he understood who his audience was, he stopped chasing rooms where he wasn't invited and started building rooms where he couldn't be ignored. That shift it wasn't exciting. It felt lonely because when you stop chasing approval, you also stop receiving reassurance. And reassurance is addictive. Eventually, attention came. Not applause, interest. People wanted in. Studios saw potential. Executives made offers. And this is where most stories get it wrong. They assume this is the happy ending. It wasn't, because the offers come with conditions. Control traded for access, ownership exchanged for visibility, voice diluted for scale. For someone who had slept in his car, that is a seductive deal. But Tyler remembered something important. He had already been invisible. He had already been broke. He had already survived silence. What he hadn't survived yet was being owned. So he said no. People misunderstand Tyler Perry's obsession with ownership. They think it's all about money. It isn't. It's about never being powerless again. Powerlessness teaches you things comfort never will. It teaches you how quickly dreams are redirected once someone else controls the gate. Tyler didn't want success that could be taken away with a meeting. He wanted permanence. That meant slower growth, more risk, more isolation. But isolation was familiar. Here's the part people don't talk about. After saying no to major systems, Tyler Perry entered silence again. No public failure, strategic quiet, no validation, no headlines, just work. Most people panic in that phase because silence after momentum feels like regression. But Tyler had learned something earlier. Silence isn't always rejection, sometimes it's preparation. So he kept building. Tyler didn't want roles, he wanted infrastructure. Because careers are rented, infrastructure is owned. He didn't want to be chosen repeatedly, he wanted to be unchosen proof. So he built a studio, not as a flex, as a shield. A place where stories didn't need permission, where voices didn't wait in line, where creation wasn't negotiated. That decision separated him permanently. Here's the trade no one warns you about. When you refuse systems, you don't fully belong anywhere. You're too independent for insiders, too successful for outsiders, too controlled to be comfortable. Tyler wasn't embraced by Hollywood. He wasn't trying to be because belonging comes with expectations, and expectations come with limitations. He chose isolation over dilution. That's not for everyone. When success finally arrived, it didn't feel explosive, it felt inevitable. Studios filled, audiences returned, numbers grew, but Tyler didn't react emotionally because he had already lived the worst case. Success didn't change him, it confirmed him. That's the difference between people who rise fast and people who last. Here's the truth most people won't say: persistence isn't heroic, it's exhausting. It means carrying belief long after excitement dies. It means hearing silence and continuing anyway. Tyler Perry didn't win because he was confident. He won because he was conditioned. Conditioned by failure, conditioned by invisibility, conditioned by rejection. Those things didn't break him, they trained him. Here's what the story is really about. If you need applause to continue, you will always be controlled by absence. If you need permission to move forward, you will always be delayed by other people's comfort. Tyler Perry teaches us this. Sometimes the room is empty, not because you're wrong, but because you're early. And sometimes the silence isn't a warning, it's an invitation to build something that doesn't need approval. Tyler Perry paid a price. He sacrificed speed, belonging, ease. But what he gained was rare: control, ownership, freedom. Not freedom to do anything, freedom to do what aligns. That's not success, that is sovereignty. If this stayed with you, don't stop here. Click on the next video on your screen. It's another golden lining story about people who refuse to trade identity for access. I'm Kush Nathu, and this is the golden lining. And this is where persistence becomes power.